It is now my distinct honor and privilege to introduce Manuel L. Brown, MD, to deliver the annual ACR Presidential Address.
In a railroad car at nightfall, when the natural light outside is diminished until it is even with the artificial light inside, the passenger facing forward sees in his window two images at once. The dim landscape rushing towards him out of the pit of darkness and the interior of the car reflected with its more or less motionless occupants. At this hour, most passengers unconsciously give allegiance to one of these two polarities of vision, and the individual, momentarily aware of both, may be struck by the profound, almost tragic duality between outer and inner worlds, between the rush of experience and the immobility of awareness. That was a short segment from the book, Time and the Art of Living. I see that piece as a metaphor for both our human condition and for our profession. To me, the landscape rushing towards us are all of the challenges that our profession faces, and we are the passengers on that railroad car. A wise person, Gene Thrall, told me that my president's talk should be something that I was passionate about. I am passionate about our profession and our college, and so my address today will be on engagement in times of uncertainty. As we go on our journey, we will face many challenges. Let's look at U.S. healthcare for a moment. A recent Gallup poll asked what issues were most important. Not surprisingly, economic issues were the highest. The list breaks down the major individual issues, and as you can see, only 6% rated healthcare their most important issue. However, in a different Gallup poll, when asked whether the respondent personally worried about health care, 58% said a great deal. What are some of the problems we're facing in health care? We have the unsustainable increasing health care costs and a growing number of uninsured patients. By one estimate, depending on what assumptions you use, the unfunded liabilities of Social Security and Medicare are between $50 and $80 trillion and rising. There is no way that that much money can be found given the current system, even under the best of assumptions. To put a personal face on this, let me paraphrase John Malden, who wrote in a recent investment letter. He says, an acquaintance who was worth north of $10 million had just had 4 stents put in his arteries. The hospital bill was $288,000, and as he was over 65, Medicare paid everything. He paid nothing, yet he was worth $10 million. He goes on to say, a good friend of mine recently had hip surgery for a problem known in advance by his insurance company. So they're not paying anything, saying it was pre-existing. And they will not pay for the follow-up costs that are now looming, as it looks like he will need a full hip replacement. And he can't afford it, so he lives with steadily growing pain. He then talks about his own daughter's experience. 2 weeks ago, my daughter had some medical work done and mentioned a lump in her throat. The scan was abnormal. Her physician said that if it was his daughter, he would remove the thyroid as soon as possible. Malden then says, why talk about this? She is the one child I have with no insurance. The cost was not as much as I feared, but definitely not cheap, maybe in the mid-tens of thousands of dollars. I didn't bother to call other hospitals to negotiate a better price or find a less expensive doctor. I simply had them schedule it as life had blessed me and I can afford it. But that's the point, he says. How many people find themselves in that situation and their fathers can't step in? Or there is no father. You then go to a free clinic or an emergency room and try to get someone to help you, even though it's not an emergency. Or you put it off until it is an emergency, or it's too late. This can be any one of us. He then concludes, we have promised the boomer generation more health care than we will be able to afford without major reforms in what we spend our taxes on. And if we raise taxes enough to even come close to what we need, the shock to our economic body will mean recessions, higher unemployment, and fewer jobs which pay less. In addition, there is the unsustainable sustainable growth rate formula. We are now looking at a 32% cut in January 13, which if not fixed, will devastate access to Medicare patients. There seems to be an inadequate supply of primary care physicians. We have a growing population with complex chronic illnesses, and we have yet to address the best way to provide affordable and compassionate end-of-life care. In PPACA, the new health plan, there is an entity called the IPAB, the Independent Payment Advisory Board, which will have unprecedented powers and an explicit task of finding savings to Medicare. This will likely marginalize Congress and all the current processes. Adding to the uncertainty, the Supreme Court will soon have to decide what to do with PPACA. Hospitals are also facing major issues. Dr. John Popovich, President and CEO of the Henry Ford Hospital, wrote, "Revenue declines are looming. The revenue we receive for each unit of service will definitely decline. The method of revenue reimbursement will change as well, with risk-based reimbursement from Medicare becoming a reality. 30-day readmission penalties will take effect in October 12, and penalties for hospital-acquired conditions will begin in 2014. He also believes that hospitals face the risk of declining patient volumes due to macro shifts in the industry and the consumer, with a movement to outpatient settings. John says that clearly reductions of waste by decreasing unnecessary variation will lead to cost savings. But this will require much more significant applications of industrial engineering, outlier monitoring, and evidence-based decisions." Dr. Popovich concludes that redesign and process re-engineering will be the path to value and cost reduction, and that customer engagement and high-performing engaged employees will be key ongoing initiatives. Radiology, like the rest of the House of Medicine, are facing the problems of the SGR. We have already seen some $6 billion in imaging cuts from CMS since 2007, and more are proposed. There are strong forces in the government and insurance industry that are working on ways to reduce the perceived problem of too many imaging tests. There continues to be economically motivated self-referral that goes unchecked and adds to excess testing. CMS continues outside of the RUC and other well-established methods to attack both the professional and technical component reimbursement through various means. Consumers affected by high deductibles and limited ability to take time off from work or home responsibilities are choosing to decline care. The recent reductions in ambulatory and semi-elective surgical procedures are an indication of this trend. So we too are likely to see decreased imaging volumes as copays and deductibles increase. There are the major changes to our traditional models of radiology. As there is more movement to subspecialization and requirements for 24/7 coverage, we will see disaggregation, where the old model of a single small radiology group will not work, and new models will be developed using teleradiology. Unfettered teleradiology brings the threat of commoditization, and there has been an increase in corporatization and disintermediation of radiology, where the interpretation goes to outsourced providers, or radiologists become either hospital employees or become employed by corporations such as Imaging Advantage that have financial and or corporate ties with for-profit hospital chains. We are also facing new methods of financing, whether through ACOs or similar models. The old fee-for-service method of payment will certainly change over the next several years. Radiology must figure out our role and reimbursement strategy for both our RVU work and our non-RVU efforts. Do not for a moment think that these are solvable without major changes. A question we will have to consider is what will happen in the years ahead. Will it be a rough passage or a simultaneous gathering of all that can go wrong, the so-called perfect storm that will end in disaster? What will our safe harbor look like? Will it be calm? More likely, it will be very choppy. And how will we navigate to that safe harbor? To answer that question, let's start out with a null hypothesis. There is nothing we can do to prevent a disaster for radiology. Let's see about that. Last year, we did a survey of radiologists to look at generational differences. One of the questions asked was, what organizations were important to you? 92% of all respondents chose the ACR. And that was true for both men and women and across all generations. And although the numbers are truly impressive, we have to ask ourselves the question, how safe is our ship? Let's start out with a discussion about our college. Our college looks something like this. At the base, we have a solid foundation of all of our members, our volunteers, and our college staff. The college's functions are organized around 5 pillars. Let's now talk about those 5 pillars that help to shape and focus our college's activities. They are advocacy, clinical research, economics, education, and quality and safety. I will be going over this very rapidly. You've heard some of the numbers already, and you'll hear more about this in the days ahead. What I want you to understand from this description is the enormity of our college. Our college's government relations and advocacy departments, as you've heard, is the voice of our specialty here in Washington. And the activities within this important pillar are coordinated by our Commission on Government Relations. In 2011, the college continued to work on the thorny issues facing radiology, including economically motivated self-referral, the continued assault by CMS on both the technical and professional components of our work, physician practice information survey reform, U.S. Preventative Service Task Force reform, radiation safety and care legislation, and Medicare coverage for CT colonography. One of the college's major efforts was to garner congressional support to block CMS from implementing MedPAC's recommendation to inappropriately reduce our professional payments by applying the MPPR, the Multiple Procedure Payment Reduction, a totally flawed concept. With support from legislators and regulatory efforts, as you heard, we were successful in reducing the cuts from 50% to 25%. We will not, we cannot stop there. The college has been working in the House and Senate to get enough support to pass legislation requiring CMS to block the continued implementation of the MPPR. We must get passage of House Bill 3269, the Diagnostic Imaging Services Protection Act, which, as you heard, now has approximately 232 co-sponsors. We have also been active in the area of health information technology, giving important input into meaningful use criteria for the Electronic Health Record Initiative program, for imaging sharing, for quality measurements, for radiation dose registry, and appropriateness criteria-guided clinical decision support. In addition, we have participated in ongoing efforts at the FDA, the NIH, the NRC, the White House Office of Science and Technology, and the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. The college has worked on state issues as well, such as the radiology assistant, appropriate utilization of imaging in Maryland, and working with many states on dense breast legislation and radiation dose reporting legislation, just to name a few. Our advocacy efforts are essential to assist our government relations work. Foremost in this is RADPAC, which had a record year in 2011. We raised over $1.4 million from just under 3,200 contributors. I will get back to this a bit later. With the Imaging Saves Lives campaign, our advocacy efforts also involve letting the public know that we are their doctors, who we are, and what we do. Our grassroots effort helped organize 20 site visits where members of Congress toured radiology departments to really see what we do and how we positively aid in the care of our patients. More than 6,000 ACRA members sent letters to their representatives asking them to co-sponsor H.R. 3269. I will also come back to this later. As Dr. Jim Thrall has stated, with respect to research, the college has more than 40 years of success with RTOG and 10 with Akron. The uniqueness and success of these organizations is difficult to overstate. They are essentially the only permanent, multi-site clinical trial groups related to radiology. The discoveries made through Akron and RTOG continue to change the practice of medicine. In 2011, Akron published 11 articles and RTOG had over 40 articles appearing in the peer-reviewed literature. The ACR is ranked in the top 10% of institutions receiving NIH grants. For 2011, the college received over $26 million, ranking it ahead of many prestigious research organizations. Akron, the American College of Radiology Imaging Network, has developed and carried out numerous high-profile clinical trials. Just last year, the results of the National Lung Screening Trial were announced to wide acclaim, as the study identified a 20% mortality benefit for screening persons at high risk for lung cancer using low-dose CT. Akron continues to advance imaging science in other areas, most notably cardiovascular imaging. The results of Akron's first cardiovascular trial were just recently reported in the New England Journal. That study confirmed that coronary CTA can safely determine which ER patients are not at higher risk and can be safely discharged. RTOG, the Radiation Therapy Oncology Group, has been in operation for over 40 years and continues its leadership role to conduct trials that rigorously evaluate new radiation oncology treatment strategies. There are currently 2 trials being conducted, that explore the treatment options specific to the HPV status of patients' head and neck cancers. NIH is now consolidating its cancer cooperative groups. Akron will become part of Akron ECOG, and RTOG will be part of the group called Energy. The work of the Economics Commission is often used for the college's congressional and state legislative efforts, as well as communications with CMS, policymakers, and medical insurers. The Commission focuses on coding, regulations, as well as payment and coverage policy. During the past year, the Commission has put great effort into mitigating the effects of CMS's MPPR policy and published in the JACR an analysis that refuted the degree of efficiencies that the GAO, MedPAC, and CMS believe occurs when multiple examinations are interpreted. The college meets regularly with MedPAC and CMS officials. We interact with CMS for HOPS, APC, and the Correct Coding Initiative, including medically unlikely edits. We have a strong presence on the AMA CPT editorial panel, and we develop a number of CPT advisory opinions through our work with the AMA. We evaluate and attempt to influence the data and methodology used to affect the practice expense values in the Medicare fee schedule, and we continue to express our concerns with the flawed data obtained through the Physician Practice Information Survey and the impact that it has had on imaging reimbursement in outpatient settings. We represent radiology at the RUC, which advises CMS on appropriate RVUs for all physician services. We present data to the RUC for valuing new or revised services. However, over the past several years, we have had to defend the existing values of our services that have been captured in CMS and RUC screens for misvalued services. This process has been incredibly time-consuming for our physician volunteers and for our college staff. We worked with the Brookings Institute, along with the AMA and other specialty societies in their efforts to develop alternative physician payment models. We commented on the initial ACO rules as they related to radiologists and our efforts in patient care. Our Future Trends Committee is charged to look at health policy concepts that may affect radiology's future and make recommendations as how the college should act or respond. Through a new committee on imaging policy and economics research, we have also begun to work on data to show imaging's value in the healthcare enterprise. The college is a powerhouse in education. We now offer more CMEs than any other radiology organization except the RSNA. The college provides over 4,600 in-training exams yearly. Our new learning management system has over 260 online educational activities with over 400 CME hours and over 8,400 learners. Case in Point has published over 1,000 cases. There are 10 online modules on ethics and professionalism, 9 on advanced cardiac imaging, and 23 on vascular ultrasound. The ACR's learning file online has over 3,600 cases. RADCAT offers self-assessment in 10 areas. In our Enduring Materials portfolio, we have the Mammography Case Review CD-ROMs and Continuous Professional Improvement print modules. The college, in conjunction with our managed societies, offers over 50 off-site CME programs providing 1,200 hours of CME and 90 hours of SAM. The Journal of the American College of Radiology, our journal, is the profession's only peer-reviewed journal that focuses on issues related to clinical practice, practice management, health services and policy, education and training. And with Dr. Hillman as editor, the first issue was published in 2004. There have now been 100 issues with approximately 1,800 articles. For the past 2 years, an independent advertising survey agency rated the JACR the most read publication, peer review, or throwaway in radiology. If that were not enough, the college has 3 very innovative programs: our Education Center, the AIRP, and the new RLI, the Radiology Leadership Institute. The ACR Education Center opened in 2008, and as you heard, so far more than 10% of all American radiologists, 3,700, have attended over 100 sessions. In 2011, the college opened the AIRP, the American Institute for Radiologic Pathology in Silver Springs, Maryland. This is the successor of the AFIP, which closed in September 2010 and would have left thousands of radiology residents without a RadPath course. In 2011, approximately 1,500 attendees, representing 99% of all U.S. radiology residents, came to the AIRP. And as you heard, in addition, there were over 280 attendees from 39 different countries. That new iPad app was introduced in 2011, which, as you heard, replaced the 2-volume, 9-pound syllabus. It includes over 6,500 images and illustrations, and the app has been downloaded over 5,000 times from around the world. The RLI, the Radiology Leadership Institute, will be the first comprehensive, structured leadership academy designed for radiologists, radiation oncologists, and medical physicists. It is based on the RLI Common Body of Knowledge with in-depth instruction in critical leadership areas. There will be levels of proficiency from fundamentals through a master's category, plus an honorary leadership luminary award. There will be certificates of proficiency, CMEs, and opportunities to pursue master's degrees from top-tiered business schools. You heard that the RLI launch will be this July at Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management, a very exciting event indeed. The quality and safety component of the college is massive. There are the practice guidelines and technical standards, the ACR accreditation program, the ACR appropriateness criteria, RadPeer, the ACR registries and metrics, as well as our work in safety with Image Gently, Image Wisely, and MR Safety, and lexicons such as BIRADS and LIRADS. The ACR's appropriateness criteria has 176 topics with over 850 variants. These form the basis for the current CMS Imaging Decision Support Demonstration Project. The college is working with various international organizations in a collaborative process to develop worldwide appropriateness criteria. The college is also working on ways to make our criteria embedded into various CPOE systems for point-of-ordering decision support. To further aid our members, the college has developed and published over 170 practice guidelines and technical standards. Practice guidelines describe recommended conduct in specific areas of clinical practice, and the technical standards describe technical parameters that are quantitative or measurable. They often include specific recommendations for patient management or equipment specifications. Another key component of our quality portfolio is physician peer review using RadPeer, currently being used by almost 16,000 radiologists in 1,100 practices. The college has a very large and robust accreditation program, an essential component to assure facilities provide a quality and safe environment for our patients. Our program is the only one that reviews both phantom and clinical images. And as you've heard, we have accredited over 30,000 facilities in all major modalities. In collaboration with ASTRO, we also accredited radiation oncology facilities. The college has some very important data registries. Our National Radiology Data Registry has almost 300 registered facilities. And as part of this, we have the National Mammography Database, the Quality Improvement Registry for CT scans in children, the CT Colonography Registry, the General Radiology Improvement Database, the IV Contrast Extravasation Registry, and most recently, the ACR Dose Index Registry, which now has over 1 million data entries. This last registry will allow facilities to benchmark how much radiation their CT scanners put out compared to similar facilities, and will allow facilities to work on best practices to reduce radiation exposure from CT scans. The college has been very active in working with other organizations and societies to focus attention on ways to keep radiation exposure as low as possible. The two major efforts are the Image Gently Advocacy and Education campaign for children and the Image Wisely campaign for adults. In addition, the college is in the final stages of updating the comprehensive ACR guidance document on MR safe practices. The ACR Metrics Committee may be less visible to many members, but it does very important behind-the-scenes work. The Metrics Committee monitors and participates in organizations such as the AMA's Physician Consortium for Performance Improvement, the National Quality Forum, the National Priorities Partnership, the AQA Alliance, and CMS's Quality Reporting Program. Because of the work of this group, we, radiologists, have access to more measures than many other specialties in CMS's Physician Quality Reporting System, and this gives us more opportunities for earning a Medicare bonus. We have now just seen how vast the college is, but that is not enough. Member engagement will be essential to our college's well-being. Before talking about member engagement, I need to lay the groundwork with a discussion on the concept of employee and customer engagement. When describing a company's encounters and relationships with its employees and customers, we need to understand that there are differences between satisfaction and engagement. Satisfaction tends to be related to a single event or encounter. Satisfaction defines an individual's contentment with that encounter, and satisfaction tends to be passive and less emotional. Satisfaction is the foundation and the minimum requirement for a continued relationship, while engagement extends beyond mere satisfaction. Engagement is active. It has a very strong emotional component, and it almost always requires multiple encounters. In the 1980s, the Gallup organization studied high-performing individuals and teams. They studied how the individual talents and workplace attitudes occurred. Some of their early surveys had hundreds of questions. In the 1990s, Gallup developed the first version of the Q12, 12 questions to capture the most important workplace attitudes defining employee engagement. Their work breaks down employee engagement into three categories: actively disengaged employees, non-engaged employees, and engaged employees. Imagine that the actively disengaged employee is spilling a load of trash on the floor. The actively disengaged employee aren't just unhappy at work, they act out their unhappiness. They undermine what their engaged coworkers accomplish. The non-engaged employee will see the trash, but will walk right by it without picking it up. The non-engaged employees are essentially checked out. They are sleepwalking through their workday. They have no energy or passion for their work. The engaged employee, however, will stop what they are doing to clean up the mess. Engaged employees work with passion and feel a profound connection with their company. They drive innovation and move the organization forward. In the third quarter of 2011, Gallup's survey of American workers found that 19% were actively disengaged, while 52% were not engaged in their work. 52% were not engaged. This means they are emotionally disconnected from their workplace and are less likely to be productive. So let's do the math. That leaves only 30% of workers who are engaged or involved in and enthusiastic about their work and contributing to their organizations in a positive manner. Gallup's work shows that world-class organizations have significantly more engaged workers when compared to average organizations. Gallup's latest meta-analysis from more than 152 organizations with nearly 1 million employees showed dramatic differences between top and bottom quartile work groups on key business outcomes such as customer loyalty, profitability, productivity, and quality. Customer engagement refers to engagement of customers with a company or a brand. And similar to employee engagement, the more emotionally engaged the customer is with the company, the more likely they are to be loyal and help drive business by positive comments through word of mouth, tweets, blogs, or reviews. This pyramid is a nice visual for customer engagement. It shows the hierarchy of customer engagement from satisfaction at the bottom through confidence, integrity, pride, to passion at the top. At its pinnacle is where the customer feels that it is the perfect company for people like me and that they cannot imagine a world without that company. Where would you like your patients to be? Our college does so much for our specialty that I want our pyramid to look like this. So how does all of this apply to membership engagement and our college? Growing a member's involvement and their engagement with their organization depends on long-term focus by the organization that can be understood by its members. 2, a common vision where members feel that their goals are strategically aligned with the goals of an organization. 3, when members feel they can make a difference, a positive impact. And 4, when members receive rewards and recognitions for their efforts. The college does an excellent job of creating a long-term focus. There is a common shared vision with the overwhelming majority of our members. Our members can certainly make a difference and a positive impact. And there are many ways that our members get rewards, such as information, training, and the direct and indirect financial rewards from our work in economics and in advocacy. The question that our college must ask is, do our members realize all of the above? There are many venues available to our members to increase their engagement with the college. There are important sources of information on our website, and as I mentioned earlier, there are a large number of educational experiences that we offer. There is work needed in state chapters, And in addition, there are many areas where our college vitally needs our members' expertise and energy in the work of our panels, our committees, and our commissions. We probably have some actively disengaged members. They exist in all organizations. The college has many highly engaged members who all pull together. I am concerned that we have too many non-engaged members. I have modified a graphic from the book, Maximum Engagement, that conceptualizes increasing engagement by members of organizations. And here's how it might look for the college. It goes from many individuals that have less engagement to those that are more engaged. It starts with non-members who use our free services and benefit from all the advocacy work that the college does. Next are our members who are not engaged actively in the college. Then we have members who contribute to our advocacy efforts. Then we have volunteers who put in their time and effort on committees and commissions. And finally, we have our leadership and fellows who have proven their commitment and engagement over many years. But wait, this graph is wrong. Many of our members are not engaged enough in our college's efforts. This graph is more accurate in the area of advocacy. I told you earlier that we have over 3,000 contributors to RADPAC. That's less than 10% of our membership. Less than 10%. And as for our grassroots efforts, in 2009, the college asked all of us to contact our senators regarding the utilization rate issue. We had 650 responses, a 2% response rate. In 2011, we asked members to write their congressman on CMS's decision to cut our professional reimbursement through the MPPR. This time we did do better. We had a 19% response rate. Our membership should look like this. There is no reason why we should not have some contribution to RADPAC from the vast majority of our members. It doesn't have to be $2,500, but it can easily be some amount. This aspect of our advocacy effort is so very important to our future. And I want to see our grassroots efforts look like this. Now, I am sure all of you here today did write or call. But for the life of me, I do not understand why every radiologist in this country didn't write or call their representative asking them to co-sponsor a bill to overturn the MPPR when it is abundantly clear that the concept and methodology was very flawed, and when doing nothing would have direct negative impact to each and every one of us. Let's return to engagement. It has been shown that non-engaged members are more likely to leave an organization. As our membership increases and becomes more engaged, our college will get stronger. A robust and more powerful college will enhance our members' capabilities. Our practices will improve through the college's programs in quality and safety, such as accreditation and the Dose Index Registry, to just name two. Our members will benefit through our educational offerings, defining the standards and appropriateness of our practice, and through leadership offerings of the Radiology Leadership Institute, which will enhance our current practice leaders and grow our leaders of the future. Our college will become more effective with our advocacy efforts through our grassroots initiatives, through our Economics Commission, and through RADPAC. Together, a strong college with a well-equipped membership will allow us to fight off the threats that face us and prepare us for the challenges ahead. We must become more engaged. I don't want anyone leaving here today to assume that this will be an easy journey. The seas will remain rough, the course uncertain, and change will occur. The changes will require sacrifices from all of us, but the sacrifices must be shared. They must be equitable. They must be fair. As a nation, we cannot sustain the unsustainable. We must reset our expectations for a new reality. That being said, we must have a stronger college and a larger and more engaged membership to face the challenges ahead. Now, I challenge our college and all of our members, all of you here, to find ways to increase our membership numbers so that all radiation oncologists, all medical physicists, and all radiologists join the ACR, and for everyone to become more engaged in the work of our college. The symbiotic relationship of a large, strong college and an engaged membership will help guide us through that dim landscape rushing towards us out of the pit of darkness. Sum it all up. I really want every member of our college to be able to say, the ACR is the perfect organization for me, and I can't imagine a world without the ACR. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now for my favorite segment of this presidential address. This is where I get to acknowledge and thank a few of the many people who have touched my career and life. I need to start out by thanking you, the council, and all of the members of our college for honoring me by allowing me to serve you as your president this past year. I have had the joy of working with incredibly engaged people and leaders. There's Ted Van Zandt from Rochester General, who showed me that a private practice radiology could be a marvelous educator of medical students. There was John Keyes, who introduced me to foyer space and scientific thought, and Jim Thrall, who taught me all that I know about how to practice academic nuclear radiology and have a great time doing it. There was Glenn Hartman and Bob Hattery at Mayo, and Mike Federley and Rich Barron at UPMC, who gave me life lessons in departmental administration. There are the college leaders, Mickey Guibarteau, Jim Borgstead, Van Moore, Jim Thrall, John Patty, Paul Ellenbogen, Bib Allen, Harvey Neiman, and so many more that showed me what commitment and leadership was all about. There are the many, many staff at the college, too many to enumerate, that helped me along in my many functions over all these years. I need to thank my team at Henry Ford. There was Linda Jenkins and Cheryl Martin, without whom my days would be harder, my job not possible. My administrative team of Drs. Denise Collins, David Caston, and Bill Sanders, and all our division and section heads who helped me every day to keep the place running while I had the privilege of doing my work for the college. I have wonderful clinical colleagues and residents in my department who I am so proud to be able to work with every day. And of course, most important to me is my family. My cousin Richard Brown, who will be receiving his fellowship later today, and his wife Donna, and his mother, my Aunt Ethel, are here today. There is my sister and best friend Lori and her husband Eric. The joys of our life, our sons Nick and Dave are here, as is Dave's wife, our daughter-in-law Darcel, and our wonderful grandson Cooper. Then there's Loretta, my wife, my partner, my rock, without whom none of this would be possible or worthwhile. Thank you. Thank you all. And then there's you.